Laura Meyer, founder and CEO of Amazon solutions provider Envision Horizon.
And I'm Todd Pachowski, Director of Performance Marketing at Envision Horizons. We've teamed up to make the Common Mistakes podcast.
Todd and I meet with business owners, leaders, and investors to discuss common mistakes and other business experiences they've learned from. Tune in every other Tuesday for your dose of business advice. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Common Mistakes, where we talk about mistakes we've made, we've seen, so you don't have to learn the hard way. I'm Laura Meyer.
And I am Todd Pachowski. To kick this off today, we have Mr. Scott Ohsman. I'm good at butchering names, but yours is pretty straightforward.
I'm with you.
Scott, your bio is long, so I did take the liberty of taking out things I felt were most important to call out. If I miss
I'm old,
anything,
so when you get older, your bio gets on longer.
let's see if I covered everything. VP of Digital Commerce for Quickfire LLC, which is a full-service digital agency for consumer goods. You've been in retail for 27 plus years.
Yep.
Run your own agency for 13 before joining Quickfire. And you've helped over 200 brands sell on Amazon.
There you go. That's kind of there you go. Other than that, I'm a nobody.
Well, we're happy you are here to talk about the things you haven't learned over those 27 years.
Yes.
Well, and don't forget that Scott is the co-host of a very wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
On his own.
Which, by the way, Laura Meyer, 3 times. Maya, did you see how I said that? Maya.
Where are you from, Boston now?
3-time guest. She's got the hat trick of being a guest on Always Off Brand.
How many guests have been on 3 times on your podcast?
Actually, probably she is maybe 2. And we've got over 82. We've had over 50 guests, so 82 episodes or something like that. So that is rare air. Let me tell you, Laura Maya.
Yeah, I think I need a plaque. I may just pay to have the plaque made myself, but I'll have that hanging up in the back of my office.
What about, hey, how about a bobblehead? I got this to my golf buddy.
I love it. Well, Scott, I wanna open it up with my go-to question here. So hopefully you're prepared. As you said, you're old, you have a 10-page resume. There's a lot of mistakes we can cover here. But I want to open it up. What is a mistake you've made in your career that today you're grateful for, that really stands out because you learned so much from the experience and it really was a part of making who you are today as a professional in person?
I mean, there's 2 biggest things. 2 things running my own shop was I lost faith in people because I put out all this effort and all this energy to really try to create an environment and do everything for these people and really, it wasn't a big team, it was a small team. And then I had some people at that time who just, I didn't feel like they cared. Honestly, I just felt like they didn't really care. I thought I was, it was not a reciprocal, even relationship. But it turns out that really wasn't about them. That was more about me. My expectations and how I thought it should go and how I thought everybody should behave. It just isn't really that. It's really not about them. It was more about me and how I felt like everybody should treat me the same way I should treat them. And that's just not how it goes. The good news is that lesson, and I got really down. You lose faith, man, you get low. But I came back. The good news is that taught me a good lesson, and people matter more than ever before. And it's all about the people. And you guys have talked about that. The second biggest mistake is I tried to build a software system, which Laura and I have discussed. And again, it was about my ego. It was about me. It was about, being stubborn. And I went too far. I spent too much money and I didn't listen. And it ended up costing me. So really, the biggest lesson in the career is your ego and your own BS.
I know that this is something we also talked about when Brock was on, who was another one of our guests. Is that, yeah, it's hard and there is such a balance, whether you're a leader, executive, or an entrepreneur, that you have to have a little bit of an ego to run a team or to drive a ship, but it's keeping it in check and being humble and listening and still being collaborative with your team. And Scott, I think your first mistake, I think, is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with in their first few years, is that you think everyone you hire is going to work as hard and care as much as you do. And that's never the case. And I think that's
Nobody
a,
cares. Yes.
yeah.
Nobody cares about your business more than the owner. That's it. Nobody cares as much because they don't have as much on the line. I put my
Yeah.
house on the line. I was so invested. Nobody could have come close. And that's typical in every business, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just keeping yourself in check that like in many ways, whoever you hire, they don't care necessarily that you put your house on the line. You know, they still have their own families and household that they need to take care of, and it's about doing your very best to still keep a culture of positivity, and even as the business owner not feeling resentment when employees are complaining or they want more money when you're struggling to, you know, get your own financial grounds stable.
The owner that comes and somebody asks for more money or they make, it's not, I want more money. It's tell me why you need more money. That's another classic trap that people fall into. And they're like, well, why should I pay you that? I'm barely, taking anything out, whatever. No one cares. Stop it. That's not the point here. But and the end of the story is that it turns out I had amazing humans and they're still my dearest friends and I respect them. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. The Brock guy said it great. I thought I was pretty good at hiring people, but I was 50-50 was his line. And I think that resonated with me. Like, I thought I was pretty good. We can get into entire hiring things, but I don't think that's what we want to do because, like you said, that is a science and an art. And I've always said they should have like a match.com for hiring because you just don't know these people. They're selling you. You're selling them. You don't know if they leave the top of the toothpaste out when they're, you just don't know, right? And so it's just, you win some, you lose some.
I know we got an agenda here, but I do want to get your take on hiring for a second. Do you have any particular questions you ask to vet out certain candidates? Do you have anything that you look at when it comes to hiring that's super important that you would like to tell the audience?
I ask the people what pisses them off. Like, what frustrates you? What person did you work with that has the annoying thing? Like, what actually bothers you? I don't want to be hear about all the great stuff you do and how you're good at this and good at that, and everybody's weakness and everybody seems to be able to be a team player and also work independently. That was my crack up. I swear, if I heard that like 30 times, everybody is like able to do that. It was amazing. In reality, not a lot of people can do that. Well, especially in the Zoom world. I would ask them what pisses them off and what irritates them and what gets them jacked up, whether it's a communication style, whether it's I wanted to know what irritated them.
Interesting. I love that question. I'm definitely jotting that down. So if someone says, hey, it's my boss that just pisses me off, like that might be a red flag.
You're trying to see if they're sincere and you're trying to get if they're authentic, right? They don't know you. You don't know them. Yeah. You're trying to actually uncover something there that could be a potential issue. I am 100% biased on team people. I am a major team guy. Team. I played team sports. To me, team is absolutely everything. And so I would try and vet that out. I would try and uncover that stone. And sometimes that's a teammate thing. I was very big on we win as a team, we lose as a team. We want to point fingers or what have you. We go into that and we see what we can do there. And you're right. I could hit some red flags on that.
I like that. And selfishly, we're asking because Todd and I were even talking this morning. We're trying to build out a list of interview questions where we can get to more of like the level 2 and the level 3 with our candidates.
You want to talk about, so again, shout out Nathan Allen. I hired him when we created our Amazon division. He was he was my first buyer, first vendor. I came from 1P from Vendor Central. And we took the Amazon hiring process, which if you guys have read about, know the 7 leaderships, all that crap, unbelievable. Like I've had friends, the smartest, most accomplished people, they couldn't even get to the second level. Like it's so unbelievable, right? We took that and we tried to pare that down. We didn't have a big team, but we had different people interview and ask different questions because the perspective of different people, it's always interesting when you hear something, Todd, you might hear something and completely process it different or translate it different than Laura or than myself, right? So we tried to get 3 different objectives and then we tried to layer down into the nitty gritty, crippy crap of life. And that we wanted to find out about the person more than all the skills and all the other crap.
Yeah.
What is, I'm blanking on the name of it, but Amazon has a word for it when they throw in the curveball interview where it's
Oh,
someone,
that's the level up or
or
whatever the
the
bar
bar raiser
raiser, excuse me,
interview.
bar
That's
raiser.
what it's
Yes.
called.
Bar
Yeah.
raiser. And if you're a bar raiser, you're like the MVP, the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
What's the
I
bar raiser?
remember my bar raiser interview still
Yeah,
to this
you're a
day.
former Amazonian. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I remember, 22 years old in a conference room in Seattle, and this guy, Jeff, I forget his last name, and no, not Bezos, came in and he was the bar raiser interview, and
Yeah.
it was very nerve-wracking.
What they do, right? Hello again. I had, by the way, on my podcast, Todd, I had to remind her that she worked for Amazon. She like completely spaced that. It has been a long time. But they ask you, they play out situational stuff that has nothing to do with the job or whatever to see they're trying to get into the psychological behavior of how you think, and they want to understand how you look at the world, how you look at things. And so they come up with these cockamamie things to get you to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a way to pull that out. Like, you can't ask these routine, mundane questions and expect to get to the heart of a person. It just doesn't work.
Well, cool. Well, I want to get into some of your mistakes with Seller Central because, Scott, as you know, I am very pro Seller Central and I advocate for Seller Central all the time. I want to hear a little bit more about your experience, your mistakes using Seller Central,
My
specifically
mistake?
inventory management.
So first of all, I'm a profit first kind of kid. It doesn't matter. Yes, I spent the first 10 years really on Vendor Central. It doesn't matter. Seller Central. I'm pro Seller Central. I mean, I've now switched. I can't even defend Vendor Central. I can't defend 1P anymore. I really can't. It's hard unless you're doing so much business. You have to be the top of the top. But one of the biggest mistakes people make is they believe everything they see that Amazon puts out. The dashboard, for one thing. I mean, how many clients, how many people are new? They look at the buy box percentage. Oh my God, I'm down 5%. No, you're not. That number is coming from all these different things. And so when you see the numbers and something looks a little off or wonky and it doesn't go together, it's not you. It's not everything is absolutely perfect, especially when they're doing all these massive changes, which had recently in Seller Central. It's a machine, and Laura understands, and the people who don't understand how Amazon was built from day one, it is all single silo engineering teams that don't have to talk to each other until the very, very end when stuff doesn't work. And so I had a situation inventory management. That's the other thing. Do not look at inventory management, restock inventory, double check it. It's not right because it has the machine, the good bad bot, has no idea seasonal pricing. I mean, there's all these factors it doesn't know. Yesterday, I had a certain situation with a client that we're moving, actually, a big business from vendor to seller, and the inventory and the performance, what's that, IPI, what's that called?
Yeah, inventory performance index.
Drives me absolutely insane. I'd like to throw that out and burn it and trash it in your pond or whatever. I hate that thing.
Drown it in my pond.
Oh my God, it's stupid. That is the stupidest metric of all time.
Why do you hate it so much? Can we?
Because it first of all, it drives off a sell-through metric, which is unlike any other and other retailers do. Okay, their sell-through metrics are so whacked because it changes depending on what the other systems, the other input says. If I want a 1 week turn, if I want a 2 week turn, you don't get to choose that. The machine chooses that. And it doesn't, the biggest problem I have with it, Todd, is they used to do inventory managed by ASIN. And you could actually manage your top ASINs. Most of the world, right, has an 80-20, 80% or 20% of the SKUs are doing 80% of the business. So I want to manage make sure I'm in stock for my top ASINs. Then they went last year or 2 years or whatever, because of the COVID limited things, they started doing it by sizing tier. This is crazy town to me because I could be out of stock and my greatest ASIN ever, my one that drives the business, that pays the bills, and yet I can't set it in because it's 7.5 by whatever. Well, who runs a business like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely made some rash decisions very quickly, but I think there is a really good point there that you can't always trust what Amazon's automated email marketing says, or
Oh,
their dashboard. Like we had a client this week come to us who was just like, we absolutely need to do premium A+ content because we got this email from Amazon saying it's going to increase our conversion rate by 5% or whatever the email said. And we're like, honestly, I don't know where Amazon's getting that stat, but we've tested it. We haven't seen that result. Like, what we actually need to focus on is this. And I think the
100%.
intentions are good with what Amazon's trying to do, but they, at the end of the day, they're customer first, they're not seller first, so they're not going to allocate the necessary resources for it to be really insightful.
Yeah, and Laura, you can attest to this. They're one of the great. They've always, and even in Vendor Central since 2006, since I started into this thing, they are one of the greatest sales organizations of all time. They're brilliant marketers and brilliant salespeople. And that's what they do. All these people, they get intimidated. That's the other biggest mistake is they get these nastygram emails, or they get these emails, right? They're automated emails saying, oh my God, you're this, you're that. And you got to just take a second, take a beat, look into it, figure out if it's actually correct. And 9 times out of 10, it's a delete situation where you just delete.
Well, my favorite is the advertising leading up to holidays Prime Day, where it's increase your budget or your bids 150%. And there's no caveat about like segmenting that to particular campaigns. It's just increase it and your sales will increase. You're probably right, Amazon, but that's not the best strategy.
And I have adapted to the IPI thing. I have adapted to their inventory. I have adapted to the way that they do it because that's what we have to do. So even though I don't love it and I don't think it's very good, I've had to learn how to play the game. And the other big thing, the mistake, when you're trying to solve a problem on Amazon, don't apply logic or sound reasoning. Just don't, because you're going to be sad. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. And that's, I mean, all of their recommendations, especially with restocking, are just, as you called out, are not accurate. Like I've used numerous third-party tools to pull in that data to calculate because they are not looking at sell-through. They're not looking at if you sold a lot in 72 hours in a week, what the seasonality is. So you have to be really careful to take everything at face value.
That's why you need to buy your software.
Yeah.
Just one of the reasons.
And honestly, it's also why we have a whole inventory management team, because even if you are using software, there are still things that software doesn't know, like that you have a coupon scheduled for October 11th and 12th for Prime Day number 2, or that you're doing a new product launch, or that you're activating influencers. Like anything, you really need to think through all the details. Scott, I wanna jump to one of the points you brought or onto your intake form, because this is something that is discussed commonly internally and also with our clients, is mistakes with catalog size. Does more product mean more sales?
My name is no. My number is no. My sign is no. Listen to Megan Trainor and just play that over and over again. No. The answer is no.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want me to expound upon that, or do you want to?
I do want to expand upon that a little bit. So what do you think is an optimal catalog size? Like, let's say you're a business that has 4,000 SKUs, which is crazy. You probably should be selling 4,000 SKUs on Amazon. But how do you go about prioritizing what you should sell?
You have to look at what is actually driving the business. In the old days, and still we deal with this, is the great feeding, the catalog feeders that just disperse it to everywhere, cause problems because they think, oh my God, I'm going to, in shoes and apparel and a lot of high variated categories, this is a common issue. Just because you have more for sale doesn't mean you're going to do more business, because it actually dilutes your focus on money, on advertising. It dilutes your inventory. It dilutes your capital. It dilutes actually everything. And I look at a unit economics. Again, this is an old retail thing. Manufacturing is you do a product P&L. Is the product actually making me money over a long period of time? And we load in everything it costs to actually sell that product. So once you do that exercise, believe me, the numbers don't lie. You're going to see, oh my gosh, I got 4,000. Really about 200 are actually driving the business. And if I just focus on those 200, so, for example, and I put all my energy, all my management, all my brain and paying attention time, which is the key of winning at Amazon, is just paying attention, and maintenance crew, like you guys. You're gonna be so much happier. You're gonna make more money. You had one guy on, his whole thing was focus, right? His year was focus. Loved it.
And I will say, even start, like, let's say you're a net new business, even launching with 200 products on Amazon is a
Bad
lot.
idea. Bad
Like,
idea.
you gotta, it's good to space it out. Now,
Now on the other side, let me just bookend this. I raised my hand here. You can also be too SKU dependent, which I've gone into. I had a business one time, a very large business, 66% variation was on one ASIN. This is a child ASIN. This isn't like a parent ASIN with a bunch of, one ASIN drove 60-some% of a very, very big number. And I had never seen anything quite like that. So easy to do on Amazon because it's an item driven business. They've gotten a lot better, but it's still an item driven business. So there's a balance there.
I liked your comment about focus dilution. And what do you think is a reasonable number of products where you actually can be focused on the SEO, the advertising, at least getting it ramped up? Like, if you're trying to space out, say, these 200 SKUs into a ramp up calendar, how many SKUs should you bite off at a time?
I mean, that just depends on so many different things and how fast you can build them out. I don't know, 20 at a time. I don't know. It's a good question, but a hard question. It depends. I think 20 at a time. Depends on your inventory management. Can you get it into FBA if you're doing that? The logistics. I mean, you guys talk about, and we talk about all these great advertising, the great marketing, and how you actually take, the age-old question, well, I'm doing 1 million, I want to do 2. How do I get there? And how much is it going to cost? But the thing is, if you can't supply the goods, if you can't be in stock, this is my long-term problem. I can't do anything if you're not in business. If I can't service all the marketing and all the crap that we're doing and spending hours and you're spending $1,000, it's no good. I guess you got to decide, and you're a seller, what can I supply and have sustainability in my supply chain and actually be in stock.
So you're saying inventory in stock is important to success on Amazon? Is that actually right, Scott?
Yes, because thank you, God. That was a good, you teed that up beautifully. There's no bigger punch in the face than being out of stock, man. It kills you. The machine.
It kills me.
It kills everybody. Or your buy box being suppressed, or not having the buy, all these things. If you're out of business, it takes 4 days. I don't know, whatever the metric is. For 1 day out of stock, you lose 4 days of relevance or whatever. It's a killer. It's absolutely devastating.
I've actually never heard that reference. So 1 day, 4 days lost.
That's what Summer Jubileer, Torley, and Summer Jubileer, my co-host, have always upbrand. She knows her. I trust Summer Jubileer.
Yeah, I just took note of that as well. We may be quoting Summer in future blog posts.
It kind of makes sense. I tell everybody when they what happens if we're out of stock for a week? What's the big deal? I go, no. We just spent a year climbing Mount Everest, and the second you're out of stock for a week, you just got knocked down to the camp. I mean, to 4,000 feet. Now you got to climb all the way back up.
And what happens is when you get to week 3, 4, 5, from my experience, you just completely fall off.
Totally.
And it takes you, if you can ever get back, it takes you a year. It takes time.
And then all the different the flywheel around it, right? The advertising dollars, your cost per click, all that crap you spent so much energy and time building. Bye-bye.
All for naught.
Todd, I feel like I've been hijacking most of the questions here.
It's all good. I have one because I think this is something Scott is going to have a good answer to. Do you have a trick or secret phone number to get direct access to seller support?
Nope. No, and you've had a lot of people, and the Seller Candy guy does a terrific job, and you got to have somebody who is just resilient, persistent, and understands how to spook the bot. That's really the key. And then you have to have a Diana, who is my person, who's amazing in the Philippines, worked for Seller Central, blah 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 support. She's a bulldog, and that's what you have to have. You don't have to be smartest. You don't have to know all this stuff. You just have to be relentlessly a bulldog and never give up. You know, it's just the water tap that never stops. It's just constant, and you will win. At some point, you will win. It's just paying attention and just being relentless and persistent.
Which
That's
some
it.
people just don't have time for. And I
And
think,
that's why they have you, and they
yeah,
have time.
yeah.
They have me sometimes.
All right. Well, I want to transition to my favorite topic, and I know it's Scott's favorite topic, which is committing to profit or committing to market share. Because we have clients who want both. And I've had some very difficult conversations regarding this discussion. And Scott, I want to give you the mic here and get your point of view on this. So I know I'm not alone.
Oh, good, good. This is a therapy session for us all.
Yes.
What Laura's talking about is, and these are you guys talk a lot about new or relatively, you know, these are young little baby brands. They might be walking, could be toddlers, might, you know, early, middle school, whatever. Nobody knows them. And so what they want is they want their cake and eat it too. They want to have profit. And they're speaking really on the advertising side, which is return on ad spend, which is what I use. I'm not an ACOS guy. It's just a thing that Amazon made up years ago that no one else uses, and I think is not the best metric. The return on ad spend. Everybody wants to be profitable, but they also want to grow sales. And in the beginning, you can't do it. And I talk a lot about, and Laura's referencing, there's only two streets. There are only two streets in the beginning. And there's a fork in the road, and you got to decide which street you want to go. Do I want to go to profit or do I want to go sales? That's it. It's that simple. What happens is, because I do the same thing, we're all natural, it's human. The CFOs, the CEOs, the CMOs, the blah, 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 you know, whatever C person, they're like, we need to grow sales. We need to hire that top number. Great. Guess what? You're not going to make money, or your return on ad spend is going to be razor thin. And then your full costing and that unit economics or the P&L of the Amazon account, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be bad. The good news is, if you can gut that out, which very few people can, very few corporations can, because they live by the quarter. If you can gut it out, 4 to 6 months, could be longer, could be way shorter. I don't know. It's just a metric we use. The profit will start coming back, and then you'll get both. You'll be so happy. Then they go, well, what happens typically is they're like, oh, yeah, we want that. And then they go, and then all of a sudden, some other variable, they have to hit a number. This isn't right. Whatever happens, oh, we need profit. Okay, but you just kicked yourself back down the hill, and now we're going to go back to profit, so the sales are going to go up. Now, if you want profit, and our friend Jeremy Dodge, who's on all the time or whatever, any agency can it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Oh, you want a 3 to 1 ROAS? I can deliver that. Any great ad manager can deliver that. Okay, well, I got profit. Yeah, but my sales aren't going at the rate that I would like. Hey, man, that's great, but guess what? 4 to 6 months, let's work on profit, and guess what? We'll start doing that. And it comes back to the reality that people don't like to hear, and you're talking about, Laura, the tough conversation is a lot of brands, unless you're Nike, Coke, whatever, if you have huge brands, you can't afford to go buy traffic. You can't afford it. I'm sorry. Let's do it another way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I almost want to get like a contract in place with with some of our clients, where like if they're committing to market share, they have to agree to it for at least 4 months before we can readjust the path.
Yeah. So one thing I got taught this. One thing I do to just kind of set the table is, so there's some math. I've tried this, by the way. I've tried this multiple times to give them both, and it just doesn't really work depending on the situation and the time of the launch and how long the product's been there. There's a lot of variables here. But one thing you do is you can do simple math of, okay, you want to do this much business, which you feel is going to give you the market share, or the share of voice, my other fun Amazon centric crap. Just like the share of voice just cracks me up. Anywho, it's an item business. How much share of an item do you got? People get sent down the wrong rabbit hole when they hear share of voice. Okay, back here. What I do is, so there's some math. You go, okay, you want to do, let's say $100,000 a month. Great. It's going to take you can go look at impressions, go look at the history and go impressions, clicks, click through. This is advertising math 101. And you can go, guess what? Oh, that's great. And then you can get cost per click. You take the cost per click times the number of clicks that you need. You go, yeah, that's great. You want to do $100,000? We're going to need $98,000 a month to spend on advertising. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, you want to get, so here's the math in your category, whatever. I can tell you the last 6 months, you need this many impressions that actually this more clicks. The click-through rate is 0.02 or whatever. So you get that. Your cost per click is $2.25 average over this time. You're going to need $98,000 a month. And they're like, I can't do that. Well, great. Then why don't we do it my way? And why don't we build it up and work for profit and get you sales?
Yeah, nothing works better than laying it out in matter of fact numbers to showcase where you could be. I love that.
Well, Scott, you've worked now with over 200 brands on Amazon. So you've obviously seen brands thrive, and you've probably seen some brands take a dive. And what are some characteristics or qualities for those brands that really do thrive, besides being in stock, because I think we covered that one, and besides either committing to profit or market share, what are some other things that brands can do to set themselves up for success?
Well, something that you guys do a great job of, and Scream and your software does an amazing job of, it's a big plug there, is
Thank you.
really the basics. Honestly, when people come to me, is the biggest thing that we've done is success is the basics, number one, and we've applied a gondola approach. Okay, I do not like roller coasters. I don't like roller coasters in budgets. I don't like roller coasters in sales goals. I don't like roller coasters. I don't like the ups and downs. I want sustainable, slow. If I'm going to go down, I want to go down slowly and gradually. And so what we've done is you build out plans for budgets and forecast to actual, and you track the actual against the forecast and these things. And the brands that are really successful is they slowly plot. They plant little seeds. They have little tiny victories. And at the end of the day, they build it up. So if they're going to build up and holiday is their big season, they're working already in May and June of planting those seeds, that campaign, that brand store, all those things. And the one thing we haven't talked about, which is I said this in 2018 or 19, but this is the biggest thing happening on Amazon. It's what's happening off Amazon. So if I'm a brand, you guys do a brilliant job of this with your beauty brands, is strategically sitting there going, okay, we're going to make little plays here in May, June, July, but it's all actually built for a holiday. So our social campaigns, our everything we're doing off Amazon, if we're driving traffic off Amazon to Amazon, which I think is the biggest reason brands are killing it or not killing it today. It's the sustained little slow growth and being able to set themselves up. It's patience, Laura. It's patience. The ones that have really skyrocketed over time, and I could look over 3, 4, 5 years, is they made little victories. And when they look at it, it's a good business. It's profitable. They don't take too many chances. They don't panic. Panic never leads to profit. Remember that.
Oh, I love it. I've quoted that. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. And they take a very long-term stable approach. That is the biggest key, and do the basics and have great people that do all the maintenance work and are getting the listings right and doing the optimization that you guys do such a great job of. And you're not getting too distracted on all the shiny objects. Oh, well, they have this tool now. I can do this, and that's the other biggest mistake. I'll just throw it in here. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten burnt on brand new Amazon, shiny new tools and toys that I thought were awesome. And they sucked because it wasn't cooked yet. It wasn't ready to go.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'd even say, at least from our point of view, that Amazon DSP didn't really mature until the last 18 months. Like DSP did not give the returns 2 years ago that it's now giving our clients today. And I mean, I was selling DSP back in 2015 at Amazon, except then it was called AAP, Amazon Advertising Platform. They like to switch up acronyms on us.
That's confusing. Absolutely. Is DSP, is it a low funnel or just high funnel brand awareness?
Well, we're doing both. I think that the big thing that we really are leaning into as it pertains to DSP is the retargeting aspect of it, and not just retargeting for replenishable products, so we can keep that cadence and continue to build that flywheel. And with those, we're seeing really healthy ROASs. but also, especially for products or catalogs that say have over 20 products, we really want to do cross selling. So we can take those that bought your number one seller and maybe they have shown to be this high LTV loyal customer. And now let's get them to try some of your other products. Because, like you said, Amazon is a product marketplace. So, they could potentially, if they're buying their beauty regimen, they could buy 6 different brands. How can we get that to consolidate to just our clients' selection of products? So
Yeah. Okay.
that's one way we're really using DSP. And we are also really leaning into OTT, the streaming TV ads, loving those. I mean, I love anything video. It's partly because I'm visual, but also I just think for the true brands on the platform, it really gives them a voice to tell their story.
Totally agree. Video and search is no matter what screen you're watching or looking, video and search is the way to go. I mean, the numbers are there. It's you got to do it right and you got to do it well. But I agree with you 100%. OTT, I've been on that train since a long time. Again, slowly, but as I've said, I think Amazon is going to do 50 if when it all goes back. There's been some stock issues and some other things that could hurt this. They did 31 billion in ad revenue last year. I think they're going to get close to 50 in 2022. And one of the biggest factors of that is OTT, the explosion of DSP, and Thursday night football, because football ratings are out of control. Now, it's about a 3.5 hour Amazon advertisement at this point, but you see, and there's some more generic, typical insurance and those things. I'm telling you, once they figure that sauce out, so maybe 23 is the bigger where they're going to hit 50, but NFL ratings are way higher. It's the highest rated television show. They had it wasn't even that good, and they got 13 million viewers, which just smokes anybody else. So once the Amazon sellers and once that ecosystem figures out how to play there, I think it's going to be massive.
Hey, I have said this before and I will hold true to this statement. I think in the very near future, brands will be able to buy a Super Bowl ad through Amazon ads.
I agree.
I think that's on the horizon. So it's
I do
coming.
too. Horizons. There you go.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I do want to give the audience an opportunity to find you, to connect with you. What are some of the best ways that they can listen to the wise words of Scott beyond just this episode?
Yeah. Thank you. The LinkedIn machine is very good. I like it. Get to LinkedIn. I got a weird name. It's Ohsman. I'm on Twitter, just Scott Ohsman, same thing. My two lives are sports and retail and ecom. So they kind of converge. So if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of, but LinkedIn's a fine place. And then quickfirenow.com. Quickfirenow.com.
Awesome.
Love it. Yeah, that concludes the show. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Common Mistakes. If you're not yet subscribed, be sure to follow us and visit envisionhorizons.com to sign up for our weekly newsletter with all the latest Amazon news and expert advice. For Amazon sellers looking for more support, check out our Amazon brand management platform, My Horizons, and sign up for a free trial. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Common Mistakes.